Good morning, everyone. It is a sincere delight to come again for Womanhood Talk with you. My name is Brooke Marie Ennius. I am the founder and CEO of Womanhood University, and it is a joy to have on the call with me this morning Dr. Camilla Dixon, who is tuning in from Atlanta, Georgia this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, you know what? This morning we have a chance, Dr. Camilla, to inspire the hearts of many women all around the world. And it is a delight to have you with me.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So Dr. Camilla and I go way back. It's been such a beautiful journey of friendship and laughter and exchange. And so I could think of nobody else to come on this morning to share on this very important topic with me. About how if you are a woman who is leading in any capacity, whether it be in your business, in just your career, whether you're just living a life where you're in high authority, and then also having to balance that with being married and being submitted to your husband, that delicate balance. I call it the ultimate balance, what that looks like. I know oftentimes we're talking about how to balance life with all the roles and responsibilities. But Dr. Camilla, I feel like this is one balance that is usually overlooked.
Yes.
And I think that if we understood it, the other conversation about balance becomes easier.
Yes.
Because there's a level of exchange with the king of your home. So, good morning, Miss Michelle. Anybody else who's logging in, good morning. Please do say hi so we can make sure that we acknowledge you. But Dr. Camilla, I just want you, I'm going to share a little bit about who you are, and then we're going to jump into the conversation.
Okay.
So Dr. Camilla Dixon, again, is a very good friend of mine, but not only that, but she is rocking what she's doing in the health industry. She's a female specialist, a herbologist, a master herbologist who has just done phenomenal work in changing the lives of many women and understanding their bodies and the way that they work, and walking them through healing. Through the use of herbs and just natural methodologies. And it's just amazing. Anytime that my family and I need anything, Dr. Camilla is who we go to. And she's been that way with us for years. So she is very trustworthy. I'll have to have her back so she can talk about the health side. But not only that, but what is most striking to me about you, Dr. Camilla, is your love for your husband. And you know, for years behind the scenes, I've talked to you about that privately, and just your adoration and your sincere and genuine devotion to him is so amazing. I've met many women and worked with many women, but the way that you love your husband is so noteworthy. And I want to talk about that because you're the president CEO of your company, and one in which I know you have many brands, and you can talk about that. But then you're so submitted to your husband, and it's just a beautiful dichotomy. So, without further ado, welcome again.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I want to just jump off this morning. Good morning, Miss Ida. Thank you for joining us with a question that I think is very important, and that is why? Why do you choose to submit to your husband? A woman of your caliber, a woman that is in as much authoritative power publicly, oftentimes has a very hard time translating that into the home. I just want to know why. Why do you choose to submit?
For me, it's an understanding that he is head and everything else flows from that. And if I am out of order, everything I do is out of order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, the concept of submission for this generation, and especially the one that will follow, because typically the next generation is a product of the generation that came before it. The concept of submission in the home is very much, number one, repelled. It's rejected.
Yes.
And I want to kind of dig a little deeper into the rewards of submission and what that looks like. Because I think if women really knew what it really was, it would be much easier for them then to take to it. And I think sometimes there's that whole, I don't want to hear it, I'm not submitting to any man, because we don't understand the rewards of it. And in all of our getting, right, we need to get understanding.
Yes.
It's not even about the rewards, but I just want to talk there just for a minute. What have been some of the things you think happen as a result of submitting?
So many.
Yes.
For one, I believe that in that submission, it has allowed me to live,
Mm.
and it has allowed me to be free because of the submission.
Yeah.
We can flow like none other because he understands that there's no struggle between us. There,
Mm.
when I walk outside of that office and I walk into my home, you are it.
Wow.
I take off all of that stuff
Yeah.
that I've had on all day. And now, how can I serve you? It's about serving my king, period, point blank. It's about serving. And we know, I mean, we can relate it to the other piece of serving, that when you serve, everything comes to you. Everything you ask for is given in that serving, but serving from a true heart, you know?
Yes.
Um, I can look back, for me, I'm the third generation of serving husbands. My grandmother did it the same way. I watched my mom do it, and now I see me doing it, and I watch my older daughter who does the same thing. So
Sure.
it's coming from a servant's heart in understanding who he is, the authority that he has, the ability for him
Yes.
in order. Man, so when you think about order and how everything flows, where does the head start?
Mm.
And if my head can clearly understand that the rest of the body is going to follow, why wouldn't I want to follow that? Why wouldn't I want to submit to that?
Sure.
Yeah.
So Dr. Camilla, so there's a lot of women who are listening today and they're saying, that's great for you,
Mhm.
right? And the rewards, they sound great, but my husband is not a good leader.
Mhm.
So yeah, I get it. You can submit, you can turn off all those hats off. Your third generation, you see it now being implemented legacy wise in terms of your daughter. But
Mhm.
your husband is different than my husband, right?
Mhm.
Theoretically, this is what women are saying. So for a woman who is struggling with her internal, there's a power struggle because she doesn't in her heart believe that her husband is capable or equipped to lead, which a lot of women are frustrated because they don't feel like their men are ready. It's not that they don't love them.
Mhm.
It's not that they don't believe in them,
Mhm.
but they don't see the leadership quality. And sometimes the way in which, we can talk about the fathers not being present, the examples of mentorship, them not having. What do we say to women in those situations?
I clearly understand,
Mm.
because again, I would say my personality is so dominant, take charge
Yes.
kind of personality, that initially when we got married, that's the way I was.
Mm.
I was the more dominant because he's kind of more of the laid back for me.
Sure.
And there was one thing that he said. See, and it goes back. You mentioned something about the fathers being in the home and, all of that. I grew up with my dad,
Yes.
and he's always taught me that you can take care of yourself. You don't need a male to take care of you. You can do that. But on the same side, he did all of the taking care of. So I would have my own, but he would take care of me as well. So that's what I looked for in a husband, someone who demonstrated exactly how my dad looked. So if you didn't have that, I can understand that it is, I have to take care of me. I have to make sure I'm okay. I have to, all of that panic mode,
Yeah.
being afraid
Survival mode.
that if he doesn't do it, it won't get done.
Right.
But I asked the question, did you give him a chance?
Mm.
Did you give him a chance to be the male or to grow into who he is supposed to be? You don't have it all together. We think we do
Sure.
because we're the woman dominant kind of,
Yes.
that's our personality.
Sure.
You don't have it all together either.
Mm.
And if you can't build together, you leave him behind, how is that actually considered as a unit?
Mm.
See, the word tells us that we come together,
Yeah.
right? That's what it is. We're coming together. We're not married together. We're
Mm.
coming together. We are being sewn together as one. And when that happens, it has to be, there's going to be some friction.
Sure.
You can't get around it. But you can't become one if you don't allow the friction to become one. It's
Yes.
not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Mm.
So I asked the question again, did you give him a chance? And even if you did give him a chance and it didn't work out exactly the way you planned it to happen,
Mhm.
did you hear what I said?
Yes.
You planned it to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't mean that he doesn't have the quality or the ability to still be who he's created to be.
So good.
Love him to the place
Mm.
that he needs to get to.
That is
Love him to that place. And I tell you, when you allow the love to just overwhelm and move back and let him become, girl, I sit back now and I'm like, oh,
so many years ago.
Mhm.
We've had many conversations on marriage. You are who I go to when it comes to health and marriage. And there's one thing you said to me. You said, "Look, your husband's heart must go safe with you."
Yes.
And I think for dominant women, one huge mistake is that when there is an overpowering, an
Mhm.
overtaking, a almost the words in the mouth of a woman are a very powerful thing. So the influence doesn't change. You can use your influence for really great things and build your home, or you can use your influence and tear it down. That's what the Bible says, right? So we have a choice in the matter.
Yes.
And whenever we use our words to belittle our husbands, and
Mhm.
we're not wise women with the choice words that we use, it causes something to break in him
Yes.
again and again and again. And that level of, can I trust you really? Right? From a husband's perspective, with my deepest thoughts, with my fears and inhibitions, right? I tell my husband and I are very close. And we have very deep conversations. And one thing I recognize is that a lot of women don't have that with their spouses. I realized it later. I didn't know it initially,
Mhm.
but it's maintenance, right? So you go through the routine of life, but in terms of deep connectivity, it's not there.
Yes.
It's just a routine of maintenance of life, the kids, the work, the home,
Yes.
but not deep conversation exchange.
Yes.
Can you tell us, how do you, if you've already torn down that man, and at this point he's shrunk away, he's really not walking in his abilities,
Yes.
how do you come from that space if you've already kind of done damage? What does that damage control look like?
Honestly, Brooke, it starts with you.
Mm.
Because again, the male he is the king,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then understanding, like we always talk about, the influence of you
Yes.
is that when you begin to change in here, he can begin to see that.
Mm.
I've often thought about the man who was on the roof, about the nagging wife who just
Yes.
kept coming.
Yeah.
I saw it a little deeper,
Mm.
is that he stayed out there because he didn't feel safe inside.
Wow.
Now, if you don't create that space, he's going to look out, because that's where he was. He
Wow.
was outside looking, or on top, looking around for
Yeah.
a safe place to
Yeah.
go.
Wow.
So now you create a safe place for him.
Mm.
Is it going to take time? Yes.
Yes.
But if you are determined to bring that unit back together, you begin creating a safe space.
Mm.
Start small. Don't try to jump in.
Yeah.
Allow him to feel what he feels, to be honest in how he feels. And you have to be able to accept that
Mm.
because you've created an atmosphere that he didn't feel he can share.
Yes.
So now you start building that space, creating a loving space, serving him from a pure heart
Mm.
that you want to see him excel. We say that we want a man to be the head, but we don't.
Right.
A lot of times we don't want that because
Mm.
we want to take control because we can do it right and we can do it better.
Right. Right.
No.
Yes.
In your home, he is the one that stands in his place. I serve my husband. Well, I don't cook breakfast. He always talks about me. I don't cook breakfast. I'm just being honest. But we've been together 32 years.
Yes.
And when we met, I was on it. Breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Right.
But I don't cook breakfast now.
Right.
But I will cook you lunch and I will cook you dinner.
Right.
And I serve him. Like literally take him his plate, pick it up, breakfast, lunch and dinner. And I
Right.
don't have an issue with that.
Right.
But those things, when you start from that place and knowing what touches his heart at the deepest place, that's where you start.
Mm.
Find the deepest
This
place.
is so good. And ladies who are watching the replay, or you may be coming back and you're saying, you may be watching it live and you may not even be engaged in the conversation because maybe you're walking through this, and that's okay. You're able to have your privacy. We don't mind that. Our objective today is to bring truth.
Yes.
And I believe that if you're ready for it, you'll receive it, and it can transform your home. It will prevent situations and scenarios that will be unfavorable for you and your family later down the road. So I want to get back to this though, Dr. Camilla. Serving, and we had this conversation. Raymond and I had a marriage event this weekend called Love Story. It was awesome. And one conversation that we had was the difference between serving and doing, right? So you just talked about the way you serve your husband in terms of bringing him his meal, and I think that's so lost. And I saw my mom do that growing up, and it's a beautiful thing. And then serving in terms of him becoming.
Yes.
I kind of want to talk about the difference there because I want to talk about how do you build up your husband. So yes, we can serve by doing, and that's great. That's the role that we play. And I love that you said from a heart space of purity, right? Because you can serve and your attitude will be completely off.
Yes.
That just throws off. It doesn't make sense. You might as well not do it.
Yes.
Right? But I want to talk about how do you then build him up with your words? How do you encourage your man?
Wow. Okay, you're gonna make me blush every time. Wow. It's telling him who he is, in spite of him being in that space or not. Who is he to you? Who is he created to be to you in Christ? Going out, when we think about Proverbs 31 woman, she made that space for him. She told him, you have the right to sit among kings. You have that right. Who are you? You can do whatever it is that you see necessary. You are created. You are still created in the perfect image of God. Everything that you do, it amazes me. I love the way you do this. It's the complimenting in every little thing that he does.
Yeah.
You do that so well. You go, boy. Yes.
Yeah.
You do that. And it is, some people would say it's by suggestion, they would use that word, but I say it's in allowing him to see the future before the future even gets here.
Oh, that's so good.
Take him into the future. That's the way the conversation goes. That's how you build it. I see you. Do you know over there? Man, and the visual piece of that. Can you see you over there? How does that feel? What does that look like? Man, let's go do that. You did that. Yes. And it's simple words. I just don't think that, and I could be wrong, but it's worked. I've seen it for us.
Absolutely.
is that men need to know, one, they're safe. Two, they need to know that you see them beyond where they are.
Mm.
Don't see me stuck in this space. Push me to where I should be. And that, I believe, is the space that a lot we see and speak to our husbands where they are.
Mm.
No, we're already here. Let me speak to you where I see you going. Yes,
Yes, my
yes,
Lord.
that's the
Dr. Miller,
conversation.
it's powerful. I mean, the simple nuggets that you're giving are full of wisdom and power
Mm,
when applied. And I'm so grateful. I want to talk about this. So a woman
mm,
can only do what you have just suggested
mm.
when she is in tune with God's voice
Yes,
and when she knows who she is. A
yes.
woman unaware of who she really is
Mm,
and why she's been called to her husband is not equipped.
yes,
It's not that she can't be equipped, right?
yes,
It's not that anyone who has done it is any better than anyone who hasn't in terms of the access. You can do it if, right? It's cause and effect. If
yes,
you do this, then you're able to do that. And it's accessible for anyone who's willing, right?
yes,
These promises are yay and amen, right? It's nothing that we conjured up or created or forced. It's a simple yes.
yes.
And I just want to talk about you've walked through Womanhood University. Um, you're in the deeper level now, which I don't talk about publicly because it's only for those who've walked through the first level. And it's for me, Womanhood University is one of those. It's just amazing.
Mm,
It's pure. It's not convoluted. I think with a lot of what the world has to offer, there are no gimmicks. It's wisdom.
yes.
And I just want to talk about a woman, right?
Mm.
How can a woman who doesn't quite understand who she is do what you just mentioned? What would be her first step? Let's just kind of back into that. What would be the first step for a woman in discovering more of who she is?
A decision.
Mm,
She has to decide that she wants to find who she is.
mm,
If you're comfortable with where you are, you don't look for anything deeper.
mm.
So, out of that uncomfortableness of
Yes.
not having that relationship with your husband, not having that relationship in the home, if it's not uncomfortable for you, then you won't dig any deeper than where you are. So, it has to become a decision that I do want change. I do want deeper. I do want to see these things that I see, the things that I know that we can be. You have to decide that that's what you want. And when you make that decision, is when things begin to open up. Things become clearer because your search becomes a deeper search about
Awesome.
who am I really in my space? You
Mm,
know,
yes.
what am I really created to do? What is our relationship created to become? What are we as one? Because that's what you are.
Yes.
What are we as one supposed to accomplish together?
Mm,
And outside of us being that together, now I can truly find. Because see, even though we have this again, and I go back to that dominating, and we are acing it out in the
that's right.
public eyes,
Yep.
then to me, that is a false sense of who you really are.
Mm,
Because you're doing it because that's what you are comfortable with doing.
sure.
When you take on those things that you are uncomfortable about, that becomes to you.
Mm, so good.
I'm comfortable, so I'm not searching. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah. And there's depth. There's depth to womanhood, you
yes,
all. There's depth to marriage. There's depth to parenting. There's depth to building a home. And
yeah,
I think you all, this is one, I'll say the same words, huge misstep that we don't fully recognize when we're in the building phase of business or career. You're just going, 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 that you don't recognize the damage that is happening internally in the home. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna, this will be my final conclusion, because I think that this conversation has been so rich. Um, you just, ladies, my caution to you is, let's not be more productive outside of our homes than we are in them. And I know it's great to build all these great things, and we look at success as if the things that we get, right, the acquisition of things and money, and the positions and the titles, like that's how we begin to label ourselves. And Dr. Camilla has made it very clear that that's not really who you are. And this is, again, coming from someone she's the only owner of a company of her kind in the industry that she's in. Like, and it's been legacy. Her father started it years ago. There's bragging rights, is my point, to what she's done. But for me, the biggest remarkable, impressionable thing is the way that she treats her husband. It is just amazing. And I just want to, again, say to you today, let's not get caught up in building outside of our homes and make that more important than being a wise woman who is building in her home. Your marriage bed matters.
Yeah.
Your relationship with your spouse matters. You don't want to get to the top of whatever you're trying to build and then look back and be there by yourself, because a man is only going to tolerate that for so long. And things are not going to suffice for what really God has called you to in the internal things. Your private life matters.
Yeah.
It matters more than your public life. And from your private life, you can live a life of overflow. And I talked about it at the beginning. I said, the balance that you all, a lot of women typically are struggling with, like, how am I supposed to do all of this? I got this going on. How do I build this? Can I have it all? Can I have everything? When you're on the same page, this is what Dr. Camilla just said, with your spouse, with your husband, and you recognize him as king and as the priest of your home, things become easier. Those other things become very little in comparison to you building him. Because when you do that, he exchanges, there's going to be reciprocity in that relationship and in that home that is so beautiful that it makes life more joyful. Dr. Camille, what would be your final words to women? Maybe words of advice, words of wisdom, anything to kind of bring the conversation to a close?
Well, first to let them know that you can do it. Because again, it just seems so hard for women, and it doesn't make you weak. I think that may be a piece, is that we feel weak when we feel like we have to relinquish the power, in quotation marks. And it's totally the opposite. It takes so much of the weight off your shoulder.
It does.
And having to keep this I can't say facade. Well, it is a facade, because you want to be the power all the time.
Sure.
There are times that it will be necessary in the home for you to, be in that place.
Right.
But when you can walk in the door and you can literally sit at the feet of your husband and allow him to be, and you can lay back and relax in his arms. You know how they say, when you can fall back in the arms of Jesus and just let all the weight just release.
Wow.
That brings so much to you to be able to balance everything else about you. So I say, start with the decision.
Yeah.
Decide what you want. And be determined to live the life of unity. Nothing else comes between the two of you. Nothing. We've had that conversation.
Yes.
I don't care who it is.
That's right.
Not your kids, not
That's
your
right.
parents, not your job. Nothing comes between the two of you. That allows you to begin to build the oneness. Take time. Have a conversation. Doesn't have to be a huge, long conversation if you're not used to it, but start small. Go back to the dating part of him, because that's where he started. But where did you lose it?
Wow.
So go back to the dating part and begin to build again. Find the love that you first found when you first connected,
Yes.
and then start rebuilding. Remember, we talked about building is all the time.
Yes.
You're building through every phase of marriage.
Yeah.
Every phase you're building, but
Yeah.
it's a constant going higher and higher as you're building.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
start there.
Oh,
Just begin to love him again from that space
beautiful.
and let him be who he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah.
beautiful. I'm gonna say this last thing, and then I'm gonna ask that you let people know how to find you. One thing you said to me, I'll never forget. You said, "I'm not trying to make Mark is your husband. You
Mhm.
said I'm not trying to make Mark who I want him to be. I just allow him to be."
Yes. Yes.
So good, so good. How do people find you, Dr. Camilla?
Well,
Well, first off, y'all can't contact her about marriage stuff. Now, if you have health questions, she's open for business. How will people find you?
you know what? And I am just, it's on Facebook.
Yes.
At Camilla Dixon.
Yeah.
That's where I am. Just
Awesome. So yes, ladies, honestly though, I'm gonna have her back. And again, for years, she's been a pillar in my life. I talked earlier about friendships and mentorship. Earlier in Womanhood Talk, and she was one of the women I was referring to. She is amazing, a secret weapon, very quiet confidence, but is full of wisdom. And I'm so grateful for our time together today. Thank you. Ladies, as we come to a close, I've again invited you to be a part of Womanhood University. It's coming up in January. It will change your life. We start, actually, I'll start registration in November. And once I'm at capacity, I'll cut it off because I love the intimate space for women to be able to grow and flourish. And I guarantee you that it will be different than what you've ever experienced. And it will bring grand clarity to you. All of your roles, all of the responsibilities that you have, y'all, it doesn't compare to you becoming. And when you can understand that, it makes life a lot easier. Okay. And so Womanhood University, again, I'll be sharing more information very soon. But in the meantime, do follow Dr. Camilla. Stay connected with women who are like-minded and who can bring value to your life and not add stress or even methods that are contradictory to you living a life of good success. Okay. Watch who's in your ear. It only takes one person to give you wrong advice that can cause damage internally in your home. So you just want to be cautious that the women that you're listening to are wise women, sage women who really are devoted to a deeper thing. All right. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Absolutely love you and appreciate you.
I love you back.
All right. Thank you, ladies, for tuning in. Have a beautiful Wednesday. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.